Hello Internet, Yuki here. Welcome back. Today we are getting coffee. So let's just do this. I'm told that you're supposed to do this real nice and slow because that makes the coffee better. I apologize for having the worst quality of all times, but as you know, northern part of Sweden, right? So, coffee, snooze. Yeah, boy. Ooh, it's good. So today I wanted to talk about stuff that has been going on recently, and there's a couple of things. I went to lecture or presentation of sorts with a game lawyer, like Sweden's best lawyer in terms of games and all that stuff. And I was interested in hearing what he had to say about like stuff that is important for us as like one-man teams or two-man teams, just small indie game developers. And it was a good lecture, and just getting to know more about NDAs and stuff like that, like super important documents and all that stuff. So that was a good lecture or presentation thingy. I also spent more time with indie game developers, like other indie game developers, and I think it's really awesome because you can hear their story and you can talk about like stuff that you have in common, like the constant stress that someday you need to make money, and that is, like I've said before, like the biggest stress for me. Like I don't bring any money to the table, and that is super stressful, and it's giving me a lot of headache and stress each and every day. And like how do others manage that? Like what do you do to overcome this? So that was super interesting to hear as well. And an indie game developer, KingJavo, I think it's KingJavo. Sorry, man. Reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can we talk?" And I'm sorry for calling you out here, but I thought that was a super awesome talk that we had. So he's an American game developer, and he just quit his day job to make his football game. And we're talking about like game design and stuff like that, and that was super awesome because it's always awesome to hear other people's story, like other people in similar situations like me. So did I tell you that English is not my first language? So that was awesome, and I think you should check him out. I will leave his link in the description. You should check out his football game because it looks awesome, and it looks like it could be a really good game. And it's also really fun to hear his story. And he also has a better camera than me, so check him out. Other than that, I've mostly been focusing on pursuing a business opportunity. Let's see how that is going. I'm not sure. Might turn out to be nothing, but it might also be some kind of money, which is important. And I don't know. Just seeking opportunities like this is good if you want to overcome the stress, I think, about like not getting any money and not having your own money to spend and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm mostly been focusing on the game, and during this time I still have a lot of issues just trying to get my hours in. I will eventually show you what tool I'm using to like manage my time. I'm basically using Excel, and I made a neat tool that works for me, like pretty much show you how I work in terms of measuring hours and stuff like that. And I think it's super important, at least for me. I'm getting really turned on by numbers and graphs and stats and stuff like that. And for me, it really worked just measuring how many hours you actually put in. So I know exactly how many hours of programming, how many hours of art, design, management, and all this stuff that I've actually put in since I quit my day job. And I think that's super awesome. And for me, it actually helps. So I do recommend it. And I'll try to show you. It doesn't really look good, so that's why I haven't showed you earlier. And in general, I think that it would be fun to show you more about my tips and tricks, my ideas, my approaches, my well, the way I work, more as in here's not as a tutorial. I mean, programming tutorials, there are a shit ton of them out there, so you might not be interested in mine. But in terms of game design and stuff that I picked up, and just how to think, how to approach game design and stuff like that. So it will probably be more game design oriented. And I did one of these earlier, and I think that was kind of fun, just showing you how I work and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. What was I talking about? Making games, yeah. So some time ago, I was talking about the old to-do list that I made. I still haven't completed all the tasks because I constantly add more tasks to it, and I'm slowly getting there. So I'm slowly just trying to get as much of it done as possible. That sentence didn't make any sense. And I've been focusing a lot on feedback and UI, and just trying to help the player actually know what the game is about and stuff like that. And it takes a lot of time to make that work, but I think it's worth it in the end, because it has to be done either way. I'm not sure if it has to be done right now, because I'm doing some kind of polishing, and to polish this stage feels a bit weird, but I'm doing it like just to catch up a bit. So just to get the game enough of feedback so that it's like on par with everything else in the game. And last thing I did right now is to add not custom, but like adding items and like weapons and shields and stuff that is shown visually on your character. So if you're wielding a sword, you will see that sword on your character, and if it's a copper sword, you'll see that and stuff like that. And that got me thinking about like how to make tiers, like weapon tiers and stuff like that, and how to approach that. And that was a big eye-opener for me, because I didn't realize how late game resource focused my game was until I did this. So I have 6 tiers of items, and by items I mean weapons and swords. No, weapons as in swords, among other things, and shields. So weapons and shields. And these 6 tiers are distributed like across the 6 levels. So one level is roughly 1 tier. And the first tier, the first weapon tier and shield tier, no, first weapon tier, goddamn, is stone oriented. And the second one is copper oriented. And the third one, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth, I hate that word, they're all iron focused, iron oriented. So you need iron to build the third tier of weapons, and from there it just scales up, so it gets super expensive and stuff like that. But in terms of like visual representation, I wanted more like a more even distributed spread. So I wanted 2 stone, 2 copper, 2 iron, and all that stuff. But that didn't add up to the names I had for the weapons and the costs that I had for the weapons and stuff like that. So I really need to change that. And that's super simple, right? Just change the numbers, change the cost, and then you're done, right? But no. See, when I make it cheaper so that you can afford the copper or iron weapon kind of early, or well, the result is that you can buy them pretty early, and that is not what I intended to do in terms of game design. So I have to focus more on like getting the cost evenly distributed. And in my case, this means that the players cannot have copper as fast, or as much copper as fast, and they can't have as much iron as fast and stuff like that. So right now on the first level you could in theory get the tier 4 item, like weapon, and that's bad, because you'll steamroll everything and you will be done, and that will be boring, like super boring. And this means that I need to approach this differently, like in terms of how you get resources and when you get resources, and how rare they actually are, and stuff like that. So I have to list everything that is about getting copper and getting iron, and just rework that a bit so that copper is a mid-tier resource and you don't get that on the first level, and iron is late game tier, so you won't get that early. And if you can collect all that stuff in the early game, then you're fucked, like in terms of balancing and stuff like that. So I really have to rework that stuff so that the player can, like, when you approach mid game, you're starting to get copper, and it's like, okay, now I got copper, so now I can build more expensive stuff or better stuff and things like that. And I think those kinds of problems, I really need to call my English teacher. When you have a problem like that, you really need to like think about the big picture, and not like, okay, so how do I fix this fast and easy? Because this is a big issue. This is a big thing. The economy of the game is really important. So you can't skip that and just go for the easy route. You have to think about like all the layers and all the effects that it will have. And I want to make a video that is focused more on how to approach things in terms of game mechanics and like repercussions, maybe. Like, so game design repercussions, like if I change this, what will actually be affected, and how can I realize what's being affected early on, and not like after release, when everything is just, when all the comments and reviews are like, well, it's easy, you just steamroll, buy this item, then you're done, game over. 1 out of 10 would not bang. And so that kind of stuff, I kind of want to make a video about that, but I'm not really sure if I have content and like interesting content to show you, but I will try. And there's some other things that is about to happen, and I will probably talk more about that later, because right now I'm more in a experimental phase, just trying out a new mechanic and see how that works. And I want to make a video about, I'm talking about the videos I want to make instead of just making them. Good job. But I want to make a video sorry, about experimenting with new mechanics and getting that thing working. And even if it doesn't work, it's still like a good experiment, and you've learned something and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm not really sure if there's anything interesting to tell you. I don't think so. So thanks for watching. and hopefully I will see you again next time. Goodbye.